I love roasting broccoli. It's a delicious, effortless, hands-off way to cook this incredible vegetable. But this simple cooking technique has some downsides. It tends to come out very dry and shriveled. There's a fine line between undercooked, crunchy stalks and complete dehydration, so the results can be inconsistent. And it generally looks quite dull. It also takes a long time to roast in the oven, usually 20 to 30 minutes, and sometimes that's just too long for me. So the method I'm using in this video harnesses some of the flavours of oven roasting with the speed of stovetop cooking, so it's the best of both worlds. It also retains that vibrant green colour and the tenderness of the tops, as well as giving the stalks time to get that desirable al dente texture. This method is used a lot in restaurants to quickly cook vegetables, and it brings out the best of their natural flavours. So let's get into it. So here I've just followed a simple recipe for some roasted broccoli, and it's good. The tops have got that unique crispness, it didn't take much work, and it was ready in just over 20 minutes, with my oven set at 220°C. But it has some of those flaws that I mentioned a moment ago. Some of the stalks have become very dehydrated, to the point where they're tough to chew because the fibres just haven't softened. And the tops have lost their vibrant green and their plumpness. Don't get me wrong, they are delicious. I really love the flavour of the crispy tops and the unique flavour that roasting brings, but I want to show you that we have other options. So first I'm cutting the outer florets from the stalk until I get to the top part where they're all bunched tighter together. I just take this part off with a knife. I love using the main stem of the broccoli for all sorts of different recipes. If you know, you know. If you don't, then just peel off the fibrous outer layer until you get down to this tender section here. You can use it for a soup, grate it into a salad or a slaw. It's really tasty. Then I'm splitting the florets mostly in half, so I have large pieces like this. For this recipe, I like to go large. It's less pieces to handle, which will be helpful later. I'm a big fan of slicing down the stalk, but then pulling the floret apart. Prepping broccoli in this way leaves my chopping board a lot cleaner. If I just slice through the flowers on top, there's always some left behind on my chopping board, like this. But if I pull the stalk apart, then only a few pieces fall off. This little detail has probably got some of you rolling your eyes, but if you know my channel, then you'll know I'm all about these little 1%. Now I've got a bowl of cold water, and I'm salting it quite heavily. This is going to kill any bugs or insects that are living inside the broccoli. And this is more common than you think, so it's something that I always do. I'm just dunking in the florets and leaving them to sit for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I'm draining them off, and once again using my salad spinner to get this broccoli as dry as possible, which doesn't take much, so I don't need to go crazy with the salad spinner. And that's it. Now I have clean, insect-free, dry broccoli, the perfect foundation to build off for the next cooking step. Now over to the stovetop, where I have a heavy bottomed frying pan. It doesn't have to be a frying pan, a saucepan works just as well. The things that are crucial are that it's got a tight fitting lid and it has a heavy base. By this I mean a thick bottom. So for most of you, it will probably be best to use a saucepan, like this. So I'm putting that pan onto a medium-high heat. For me, a 6 out of 9 on this induction stovetop. And I'm going to give that a minute or two to preheat. I want the pan hot, but not screaming hot. Then in with some olive oil, and get that coating the base. And this is the step that people are probably not going to like, but it's an important step to achieve the flavour of oven roasted broccoli. You want to arrange your broccoli so as many of those flat cut sides are touching the base of the frying pan as possible. If you watch my Brussels sprouts video, this is exactly the same technique. So I go around the outer rim of the frying pan first, then come back and fill in the centre in whatever way works best. Then a light seasoning with salt and place the lid on. So the lid is doing a couple of things. It's helping to maintain the heat of the frying pan, but more importantly, it's trapping any steam that's being created. This is essentially lightly steaming my broccoli whilst it's frying. If you're using an induction stove like me, or even a small gas ring, then you'll have the same problem that I do right now. In the centre of the pan, there's a big hot spot, so it's easy to burn the food in the middle of the pan, and undercook the food closer to the rim. Something you can do to help prevent this is to move the pan around like this. So basically, north, south, east, west. And I'm moving the pan every 30 seconds or so. I also reduced the heat down to a 5 out of 9, around 30 seconds after the lid went on, because the pan sounded like it was frying quite hard. Whilst that's cooking, I've got time to make a marinade, but I have to be fast because my broccoli is cooking quick, so it's going to be a simple one. I'm using 2 cloves of garlic, and this is going to make a garlicky, punchy marinade or dressing, however you want to think of it. So if you're not much of a fan, then 1 clove will be plenty. And for my garlic fanatics out there, you guys are going to put in 5, 6, 7 cloves anyway. So you do you. Once I've got them peeled, I'm going to use one of my favourite tools, the MICROPLANE, to get this garlic super fine. You can also do this with a knife if you don't have a fine grater or zester. But honestly, these MICROPLANEs are amazing. I've been through so many different brands of zesters over the years because they either get blunt or the handle falls off. But I've had this for 6 or 7 years now. It's been used and abused and it's still going strong. I can't recommend them enough. There's a link in the description if you want to get one and you want to help support the channel. Then I'm going to follow that with some cracked black pepper, a little salt, not too much because I've already salted the broccoli, and finally a little olive oil, not too much once again. The oil's just going to help to coat the broccoli. And that's it, pretty simple. Garlic and broccoli are such a good combination, so if you're on the fence about this dressing, then please do try it. And maybe start with 1 clove of garlic if you want to be a little cautious. Okay, so after 3 minutes of frying, I'm checking to see how things are doing. I've got some great colour developing on my flat cut sides, but this broccoli is still a little al dente for me. So to get it cooked through, I'm adding a 50ml shot of water and putting the lid straight back on. I'm going to continue to let that cook for around another minute. Okay, once that minute has passed, you can see the broccoli is still beautifully green. It's got some nice fried edges. This is going to give me that oven roasted flavour that we all love. But it also has all the things I love about steamed broccoli, like the freshness and the texture. It really is the best of both worlds. So keeping the pan on the heat, I'm going to keep cooking until I hear a frying sound again. This means that most of the water has now evaporated, and the broccoli will be starting to re-crisp in areas. Literally 10 to 30 seconds, no more. Then pan off the heat. This is the moment I'm going to put my garlic oil in. Give it a mix so it's coating the broccoli, then I'm just leaving it to sit in the pan for 2 minutes. Placing the dressing on the hot broccoli in this stage, and not any later, is helping to cook out and soften that raw, pungent flavour from the garlic. This technique is something I learnt from making fresh pesto, by lightly cooking the garlic with the heat from the toasted pine nuts. And I have to say, I've never tasted pesto like it. It's an incredible recipe. If you'd like to see that, then let me know in the comments, and I'll add it to the video list. And this passive residual heat cooking method also ensures the garlic won't burn, because the pan is gradually cooling instead of heating. And it also gives you time to get the rest of your meal together. I like my broccoli stems al dente. They're tender with a crunch in the middle. My tops are fresh and vibrant. Parts have got that delicious oven roasted flavour, which brings a whole new dimension to this recipe. And the garlic just ties everything together. If you like this video, then YouTube thinks you'll like this one as well. So go check it out next.